Hello, everybody, and welcome to session 0.5. I have not come up with a catchy name for this. Thus far, I've been calling it Shadow Walk before you Shadow Run. We'll see if that sticks. Um, I'm back with my players that have stuck around after some discussion. They've had approximately 22 hours to work on some character stuff, get basic concepts down, and tonight, for the next hour, 2 hours, we're going to work on going through some of the team-based relationships, figuring out whose contacts are what, and answering some potentially either mechanical questions or just questions in general. Um, so I guess for the first time, but definitely not the last time, if we want to go from left to right, we can say, "Hey, what's up?" so people can get familiar with your voices and maybe a brief introduction of the character you've come up with.
All right. Uh, yeah. So yeah, again, I'm Omega, and I did pick a rigger as it shows on the board. And tasteful red, got to be the odd man out. Um, and how I'm making him pretty standard. Um, I did give him lifestyle wise when I was looking. I gave him a what's it called, a specialized area, something like that. It's supposed to be basically he lives over like a mechanic's garage, which makes sense. Um, Got a couple normal stuff. Got the age old GMC Bulldog, the rigger van, and I did decide. Yeah, he's a former corper who, on account of a shadow run that went messy, lost his family, and now he's trying to hunt those fucks down. Pretty standard stuff. Uh, right now, let's see, two vehicles and three, four, five, six drones. And I'm just filling in auto softs. I think that's good for now. Tushar.
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Tushar, and I think I'm going with the Street Sam. Uh, Again, I think it's a fairly normal build. I've gone mostly agility based, and I was wondering about the skills I've taken, whether I should go with an assault rifle or a submachine gun. Finally stuck with a submachine gun, and for melee, I think I've gone with a monofilament whip. I think it probably works better than like a knife or something. Short range. I'm more or less done. I think I have like knowledge skills left and contacts to fill out. But apart from that, my character is more or less done. His name is Plata. Seep Sam. Born in, he's a dwarf. Born in like India, a small place called Alwar. And in Shadowrun and Alwar, in India, basically, there's a lot of racism going around. It's like I think less than 5% of the population is metahuman or non-human. So basically, born to human family. Father, works for Enraku, which I think the only real mega corp that's there in that area. Not much, by the way, in India in Shadow, and I was looking up. So, like is common in most cases when you have a child that's unwanted in India, sadly true even to this date. You generally kill them off. Uh, but for some reason, the other mother convinced my dad not to kill me off. So my character's uh, basically grown up as like a, even though he's born in a well-to-do family, he's been treated as like a servant, so unwanted child. Joins the army. Uh, and since he's metahuman, of course, you can't really join the army because I mean you're non-human, so you're part of a small merc group. Does surgical strikes again, India, Pakistan, still going on to this date. And after a while, decides he's done with all this war and nonsense that's basically going on all his life, trying to do something better for himself because he realized like he's fighting a war for a country that doesn't really care for him, and then decides to go to America where he expects that uh, you know other races are more accepted. People are more open to people of the different races compared to especially where he then goes to Seattle and then tries to make a living off with whatever skills he has.
You did a lot more homework than I did.
So this is Neocrates. My character was born in Boston, and his parents realized early on that he was having seizures. He had all kinds of developmental issues in terms of coordination, and they found out that he had a rare genetic disease that was attacking his nervous system. So his dad worked at MIT developing like hardware and stuff like that. So he was mostly confined to his room. His legs stopped working when he was about 8 or 9. So then he was wheelchair bound. His arms started to fail. So he had no real escape except for the virtual world. And that is where he spent most of his time. And his parents were very understanding, and with his dad's position, he was technologically forward. So my character got a data jack at an early age. Like I said, the Matrix was his life. They found a cure or were able to stop the progression of the disease when he was 12, but the damage had kind of already been done. His left arm was still good, but his right arm was like curled up in like a claw, and he couldn't use it. And his legs were completely atrophied. But he wasn't going to get any worse. And his parents, at 14, his parents were going on vacation, and their suborbital flight crashed, leaving him an orphan. He was raised by his aunt, who did not give him as much care and attention. I mean, he still had food and everything, but not a lot of contact. So he retreated further and further into his own world. And when he turned 18, he got his inheritance and the money that was supposed to send him to college. But he just wanted freedom out of the small room he was in. So he plunked all of his money into fixing his body and getting out of his prison. So he replaced his arm and both of his legs. And then he could get out in the real world. But when he got out in the real world, it kind of paled a little bit in comparison to the Matrix. He was still happy to be free, but it wasn't quite what he wanted. He became dissatisfied with his meat senses, so he ended up getting his eyes and ears replaced. And he's happy now, and he's not going to do anything else. But now he had no money, but he had really good skills. So he built a cyber deck with the hardware knowledge he had accumulated over all the years and started running the shadows to try to make a living. Basically, Sleaze Decker looks like a normal, nondescript human being from the outside. He can use pistols, like he's like a one-trick pony for using pistols, and he's got a shock hand in case somebody gets really close, but he's not a combat junkie. He's more about subverting and taking over people's electronics, breaking into hosts, that kind of stuff.
All right, so I'm Dastrix, and I have Tom, the caffeine-addicted adept, who's basically I haven't figured out his backstory other than he has poor self-control, and like literally he sees coffee, he will buy the coffee, or soy calf for this matter, and he's also just loves guns, has his Ares Lightfire 75 that he doesn't know what he'll do if he ever loses it. And, well, that's as far as I've gone with his backstory so far.
Alright, I guess I'm up. I'm Muppasant, or Mupp for short. I have Fenway here, who was an orphan who kind of grew up in the circus. While he was doing that, all he ever wanted to do was become a clown. finds out that he has a magical talent, and then the people in the circus don't want him anymore. So he ends up on the streets in Seattle in a clown suit, and there's a gang that runs around in clown suits. So he had the right uniform in the right place, so decided to hang out with them for a while, figured that's maybe not his thing, and decided to go towards the shadows. He's more of the utility type mage, trying to make him useful with those abilities, but he is a chaos tradition, so it doesn't have any summoning or anything like that.
All right, we got some things going on here. Several of the most tragic of backstories. So the first thing I'm going to ask is, does anybody have any questions? You guys have had 22 and some odd hours to mull things over, kick some of the tires. Has anything cropped up?
Cars are expensive.
Cars are expensive. I bought two.
Don't become too attached.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I did have one thing. So what do weapon mounts look like on a vehicle? Do they stick out?
Yes,
would it be a
and
thing?
no.
Okay.
Rigor 5 introduced some options as far as concealed and pop-up turrets and that kind of stuff.
Huh?
But your standard weapon mount out of the core rulebook is generally something like a very Mad Max thing mounted on the hood or in the trunk, giant gun, like so.
All right, yeah, I get you. I was just wondering if it'd be probably prudent to get ones that pop in and out.
It depends upon how illegal you want to be. There are a couple of drones that come stock with mounts. I believe Dobermans and Steel Lynxes both do.
Yes.
Those are not illegal. You may get odd questions when you're driving around downtown with a Steel Lynx with a machine gun mounted on it, but you know.
Okay.
That's
I got a license for all this. I promise.
yeah. That's definitely an interesting thing.
Okay.
Anybody else got any kind of crazy questions?
Well, yeah. I was wondering, like, for a street Sam, from what I've been reading up, it's really good to have like a secondary role.
It is very so. Street Sam's.
I mean, it's helpful.
Yeah, they are, primary combatants, and combat isn't necessarily always a good thing in Shadowrun. It almost always starts a clock of some kind, and one of the things is lethality. Like, corporations know and understand that Shadowrunners are going to do Shadowrun things. They have a budget for it. So when you break into their facility and you gun down their guards, well, if you didn't kill them, they could easily do something along the lines of writing them up because they failed the training exercise, or docking their pay, or covering it in the media, or any number of things. But when you start using like lethal ammunition and murdering people, well, now they got to pay somebody to clean up all the blood. They have to pay to hire and train new people. They need to pay out death benefits. And it's really hard to spin a media training accident when a bunch of people are dead. So the more money you cost the corpse in that kind of way, the more often they're going to come back after you. So that's kind of also an important thing for Street Sams to keep in mind, because you don't want to you want to be all murder all the time. Physical escalation? Sure. Knocking dudes out? Great. Cutting off, people's heads because you're a giant cybered up troll. So between it not being like a focus and between the extra heat it can bring on you, something like maybe a couple of drones, maybe having some points in sneaking and lockpicking because you're already going to have a high agility is good. Sometimes having really weird combinations of skills is also helpful. For example, I play a character on the hub whose name is Boomhilda. She is a street samurai, but she uses two giant hulked out cyber arms to get her agility way up there. And she's a logic 8 character. So she has like a bunch of random explosives and engineering skills that she can roll with, which is unusual for somebody whose biggest dice pool is 20 dice for automatics, followed shortly by like 16 dice for heavy weapons. So if you can find something in there, maybe a little bit of social skills, maybe I saw, I forget the name, the Decker had some medical skills.
Yeah, I got I had the group points to do it, so I put them all in biotech. Yeah, I got serious medical skills.
So there are other things that you can pick up, like even something like animal handling can randomly be useful. But that'll kind of depend as we look at each other's sheets and we kind of figure out other areas to advance into. So that awkward silence telling me that to continue onwards.
Sorry.
Not unless somebody else has anything else, we can mosey on. A question.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
I had another question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yeah. So I was looking up rules on the Runner Hub, and it said for cyberware, you can't have. I mean, for Bioware and all, you can't have used. Basically grade, right? So what does Omega Ware fall under? Does it fall under used? Does it fall under
Omega
really?
was an optional rule in Chrome Flesh that they introduced. The hub doesn't use that mostly because if memory serves, it has something wonky with it. If you want to take some Omega Ware, we could talk about some of the inherited ticks that you may have gotten from it.
And like inherent ticks would be like just as
Well,
an example.
I think I read about this. Like your wired reflexes would be always turned on, so you'd be like Mr. Jittery all the time.
Yeah, it really depends upon the individual piece of wear, because like a cyber eye isn't going to give you like a leg twitch, that kind of thing. It would be related to the piece. So like if you had an arm, like you're
So I had like muscle toner. That was Omega Ware.
it may just be some general overbody like nervous twitches. To be slightly insensitive, have you ever seen somebody that has like Parkinson's?
Okay.
Not like super bad, unable to operate, but maybe in times of stress it starts to just kind of reflexively twitch a little. Nothing that would be like, oh, you're twitching, take -4 to any agility based tests, because that's dumb and not fun. But people might look at you a little stranger in social situations because it's like, why is that dude, is he on drugs? Is he tweaking out?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So, to be honest, I haven't looked in depth at any character sheets that have been shown to me. So, it's just kind of spitballing.
No, I haven't put up my sheet yet. So, because I was still thinking of making in changes, and
Yeah, well, you guys got at least a week to make changes. And then even then, it's like nobody remembers the pilot, so you'll have like another week after that to make more changes.
Sweet.
It's not that serious. It's one of those things where like, with Alice, who we looked at yesterday, I realized after the first or second game that she was played in, I didn't give her an electronic warfare skill. Whoops. That's pretty important.
Yeah.
So, just little stuff like that is helpful to give you the opportunity to.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So I ended up having to sell off my bike in the quest to get my gears and fix into place. So a lot of the karma I spent was in skills, and if I ditch the pilot ground skill and the specialization, I can actually have a little bit to play with, and I'm curious what you think about adding 2 specializations to hacking versus devices and versus hosts.
Not in character generation. You want to do it in play? You want to spend 7 karma and the appropriate training time to learn a second specialization? That is completely legal. But in character generation, specializations are super cheap. That not really a balanced thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, so there shouldn't, okay, so there shouldn't be more than one anyway.
Once you get in play, you are straight up by the rules allowed to have multiple specializations within the same skill. You can't do it in character generation though, because in character generation it's like 1 skill point, and it's a pretty big boost for a singular skill point, so they limit you that.
Right on. Which would you of the 2? Which would you think more appropriate as a start? Probably devices to start, and then hosts.
Devices almost always straight up better, because I'm not going to hack the host. I'm going to hack that camera.
Yeah.
And that'll give me the bonus dice effectively versus the host because of how master and slave relationships work.
Yeah.
And it will still also give you that specialization if you want to hack that random dude's smart gun that he doesn't have slave to anything. So that is definitely my suggestion.
That's a good one. Yeah, we'll do that.
Just remember that once you have a specialization in a skill, you can no longer raise it as a skill group.
Right, which is why I dumped all my skill group points into biotech and I had to actually grab the skills I wanted individually.
Yeah.
I couldn't take it if my core things were all lockstep at 5. I just couldn't do it.
It's all right. We forgive you.
All right, so I kind of just raised my hand, and then I'm like, wait, there's no cameras here. This isn't going to work.
I appreciate the raising of the hand, though.
All right, thank you. So Mystic Armor, is it worth it?
Maybe. Have you ever played World of Warcraft? Or like any real MMO that involved raiding?
Yeah.
Okay. It's one of those things where, yes, you will eventually get hit. And that is where your mitigation comes into play. Shadowrun's a little bit different in that the combat sense power offers you dice to not get shot. And it costs a half a power point. And your hits on your defense test reduce how much damage you take from their net hits, not scaling their damage up. So it's sort of like having an extra point of armor at the same time, with the potential to reduce the damage to 0 if you dodge the attack completely. However, there will be occasions when you are not able to roll a defense test, and then that combat sense power does nothing, where the mystic armor would do something if you got hit. So it's kind of yes and no. The 2 powers are like, if you want a defensive power beyond the first point of combat sense, they are more or less, in my personal eyes, equivalent, because they both do kind of the same thing. The first point of combat sense gives you the ability to roll a perception test before a surprise situation, and that can be really strong. Because if you see the thing trying to surprise you, you get a bonus on your surprise test. So that first point of combat sense is really, really, really strong. Almost specifically just for the I might be surprised in any situation, and this gives me that like spider sense situation where I may not get murdered.
Gotcha. So basically just pick one.
I recommend a point of combat sense first, just because of that perception anti-sneak up on me thing. But after that, it is up to you and the limitations wherein, like, you can only have ranks in a power up to your magic. So if you have 6 ranks in Mystic Armor, you can't raise anymore. So if you want, you can get combat sense, and then they kind of work alongside each other really well. but that's
Okay, I see what you're saying.
um, that is a lot more in the specifics of the individual situations.
So, on the question of like programs, so
Mhm.
how many programs can you have running at once? Is that based off your device, or is it just always like one?
It depends upon the type of device. A cyberdeck can run programs equal to its rating.
Okay.
An RCC can run programs equal to its sharing, which is a fluctuating attribute. You're like, say you have a rating for RCC.
Okay.
It has two things. It has its sharing, and it has its, like, for being an RCC, inherent noise reduction. Those two numbers add up to 4. So if you need to share 3 programs, you are then sharing out those 3 programs, and you have 1 point of free noise reduction. At the same time, if you're in a heavy static zone or being jammed, you can stop sharing those programs. That boosts your noise reduction to 4.
Okay.
Comlinks can run some apps, and there is a modification you can do to allow them to run like a singular program. Um, but there is obviously some limitations to that.
But I could like just off the top, like so I could run like encryption and signal scrub at the same time.
You could, and then
Okay.
if you had that same device rating for RCC, you would have 2 points of noise reduction from just the RCC not sharing out its programs. You would have 2
Okay.
additional points from your signal scrub, and you would have the 1 point higher firewall, I believe.
Okay. Well, that answers my question.
Along that,
Oop, started going a bit roboty.
along those lines, for
There you go.
can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, you're good.
Yep.
Along those lines, for magic, using focus concentration, would you
Mhm.
be able to cast 2 sustaining spells at the same time, and then the third would get the penalty? Is
Fo-
that how that works?
Focus concentration is a single spell up to the force of the ranks you have in focus concentration. So if you have focus concentration 4, you can hold a force 4 spell, and that's it.
And then would you be able to do another one on top of that without the penalty, or you only can sustain 1 spell?
With the focus concentration, you can only sustain a singular spell.
Okay.
Um,
I would be able to cast another spell as long as it's not sustained.
so let's take that information and knowledge we have from D&D and Pathfinder about sustained spells and concentration, throw it out the window. You can
Okay.
cast and sustain as many spells as you feel like you want. You may not be able
That
to
is
cast them
awesome.
all at the same time, but you could sustain an invisibility spell on each member of your team, so long as you wanted to um, basically risk the dice roll, because each spell that you are sustaining gives you -2. So if you have, let's say, 10 dice, you can. The one I cast on you, I roll 10 dice for. The one I cast on your next teammate, you're rolling 8, 6, 4, 2, until finally you're rolling nothing. If you want to risk the 2 die roll to cast a spell, you are more than welcome to do that.
Okay. So so it gives me 1 then at the level that I take it, with the focus concentration.
Yeah, up to that level.
Okay.
So if you had focus concentration 4, you could cast a force 3 spell, and that would take your focus concentration slot. Focus concentration is really strong because it allows you to do any type of sustained spell, whereas the various sustaining foci are by their own different schools of magic. So, like, if you have an illusion sustaining foci, you can't put a manipulation spell in it. But with
And
focus
combat
concentration,
sense.
go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say like combat sense, armor, invisibility, all those kind of things you could use it for.
Yep. Just remember that sustaining penalty is -2 to everything you do.
Okay.
So
Oh.
that includes avoiding being shot. So if you're sustaining like 6 spells and I go to shoot you, you may not have many dice left.
I don't think I would have any.
It's something to consider. Don't put yourself in a place where you can be shot. Um, Another important thing to break this habit is you do not need to have anything other than line of sight to cast magic unless it's like a touch-based spell. You don't need to speak any words of power. You don't need to do any finger wiggling. You don't need to really do anything. You exercise your will upon the world, and the world reacts.
But I could do that for flavor, though, right?
If you wanted. It's one of the things of like, all right, you know, I'm in a public setting and I want to cast magic on that dude. I'm gonna roll my sneaking so that they don't see me speaking these words or something along those lines. You can just sit there, lean back, sip your soy calf, and just and something happens. They are able to roll to see magic happening, but it's not like it's to the mundane person. They probably wouldn't know who did it unless it's something a little more obvious. They wouldn't know the kind of spell that was cast. They would just see like some sparkles in the air, or just like you ever just like see something out of the corner of your eye and you turn to look and it's not really there? They would just get that kind of like know that something happened.
So I still have a free specialization, and I think I'm going to throw it on computer. For a sleaze decker, which do you think? Matrix Perception, which is my original thought, or Erase Mark?
I would probably just say Matrix Perception because that's something you're going to be doing fairly often, as opposed to Erase Mark, only something you're doing when probably when things go wrong. Because it's like you don't intend to be marked.
Right on.
Okay.
All right. Sounds like we have a moment from people with questions. So I have a question for you guys is how many jobs have you guys done together?
So do we want to be like a newer team, guys, or do we want to have been like, you know, maybe three or four jobs and starting to get used to each other?
It's a good question. I mean, like, we could just be like, one job, hey guys, we just met. That was rough.
Yeah.
Last job
Like-
we worked well together, so let's try it again.
Because I think that'd be interesting, because, like, we're just meeting each other, and our runners would be just meeting each other.
Just got called together by the Oh, that is a question I had. Is our fixer for free, or should we have kept some karma for getting it? Because I did remember you bringing up something about the fixer.
I will give you a fixer, like to everybody as a contact.
Okay.
I have not decided who he's going to be yet because we haven't quite gotten that far with the rest of our plotting.
That's totally fine. I was just making sure, like, I shouldn't be saving some karma for it.
Well,
Okay.
if you want another fixer type dude, you can totally do it. You don't have
Oh yeah,
to
no,
have only.
I know.
All right.
I was just making sure because I did pick two specific ones. I didn't need to know if I needed to get rid of one of them. Okay, but yeah, I'm totally down with just one mission, and it's like, well, we worked well together. Didn't fuck up. At least we didn't fuck up too bad. If we did fuck up, might as well give it another shot. Or maybe the fixer just called us yet again. It's like, yeah, you guys did fine. I got another job that would work for all y'all. Does that sound
Do
good
we
with
have-
everybody? Or go ahead.
Yeah, no, that
I mean-
sounds good to me.
Same here.
All right, cool.
Do we have anybody with a charisma score at all?
I made my character with 5 charisma and a couple of points in that, figuring we're going to need a new face.
I have 4
didn't know-
charisma.
I have 4 charisma as well, but I didn't know we were losing a face. I just put charisma as points because I didn't want to be like socially inept.
Which is really good for somebody whose primary job is murder. Because not looking like a crazed killer is a good way to get you in positions to be a crazed killer. Yeah. Charisma is a really strong skill. No, I'm sorry, not charisma. Social stuff can be really strong. The the world reacts as one would think it would. So you don't need to just like, I want to negotiate with that guy, I'm going to roll negotiations. But if you were to say, find out about that guy and what he does and some of his other hobbies, maybe have some leverage over him, or maybe even have something he wants, you can offer that. That gets you mechanically a bunch of bonus dice, but it can also just put you in a really strong bargaining position. There was to break into a small gamer story, there was a game on the hub where I was playing my face, and we were hired to manipulate some data on this like rating 7 host, and rather than kind of attack that host directly, I came up with the idea. It's like, hey, let's see what we can find out about his accountant, because his accountant is going to have access to his books. We found out about his account. We found out he was running some kind of pyramid scheme money laundering thing. So I did what I usually do when I called my friends who were involved in organized crime. It's like, hey, I even just found this guy who is really good at cooking the books and hiding money trails. Would you be interested in me setting up a meeting so that you guys can work together to a mutually beneficial situation? I rolled like 6 hits on the connection test, and then kind of was like, you know what? I could use a guy. So then I go to the accountant guy. We talk about some things. I make my pitch. The accountant guy is a dude who's running a money laundering scheme. He loves to make money. So we convince him that all he has to do is insert this one little alteration into his client's files, and in exchange, I offer him a wealth of business opportunities. And that's how we manipulated the shit out of him.
Nice.
Not bad.
Yeah. So those kind of options are always there, and most times you just kind of have to think a little laterally. But that comes with practice. So we'll get you guys there. The influence group is also really strong, having both etiquette, negotiation, and leadership. And there is a lot of interesting things you can do with those skills.
Like, what can you use influence for?
Well, that's just the name of the group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was an active skill.
No, it has the etiquette, the negotiation, and the leadership skills in it.
Okay, so leadership, I think, was the one I'd be asking for then.
It has a lot of different uses depending upon what you're doing. One of the big things it can do that nobody really pays attention to is that it can give people bonus dice to composure tests. Like, your one dude on your team is freaking out and having a breakdown, you grab him by the shoulders and just shake him back into it. You can also use it as kind of a teamwork test on just about any skill that makes sense. The only thing that's really required is some kind of role play backing up. Like, the person you are using it on has to see you in a leadership role. So, to break into a small gamer story, my pistol adept would never accept leadership from anybody involving combat because she's better than you at it. And she knows she's better than you at it, and she's going to tell you she's better than you at it. So don't try and teach me anything about shooting a pistol, because I'm better than you.
All right, so just depends who's listening. Got it.
Yeah. That like social dynamic between the two characters either has to be there. You can use it to get to potentially get NPCs to do what you want, so long as you are like a believable authority figure to them. Like, if you have the paperwork in place, you have the great groundwork of the lie in place that you are the like regional director, you could just be like, all right, show me around your facility, and just use it to kind of puppet master him a little bit.
So, question about sins, or rather fake sins. So I picked up a rating 4 one just for like average everyday one, just so that can actually hold up. How hard is it to switch it around? Say if I'm on the job, I switch to like a rating 2 sin just to, for that kind of cover, so I don't compromise that one.
There are
Immediately.
no real specifics on what it even takes to broadcast us in. That was one of the finer points that was left out
Okay.
of the books.
So I could just say like I'm running with my rank 2 sin just so I don't fuck up my rank 4 one.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
kind of assumed that you need at least a comm link to broadcast this in, because that's your your computer of your little personal area network, and that's like the broadcast point. But
Okay.
it could be something as simple as turning one off and turning another comm link on. Just gotta be kind of careful where you do it.
Okay, good to know.
All right, go bags. How do those
Yeah.
work?
Okay. They're just kind of like a kind of basically exactly what they sound like. If you just build a small little pile of equipment, and
Just
since
tell
we're
you
not-
where I want to hide it.
Yeah, dependent upon the detail. Like if you want to, for say, inside there is a fake sin, and you have a rented storage locker associated with that fake sin in downtown, and you're paying like a lifestyle on it, I'm not going to mess with it because it's obviously in a secure location. But if you're putting a go bag of like a gun, a couple of changes of clothes, and something in the middle of Touristville, well, we'll see how long it lasts before some street rat stumbles upon it and says, "Ooh, free gun."
Makes sense.
Um, it also kind of depends upon how much you want to invest into it. You know what I mean? If you're gonna put like a fake sin, a comm link, a gun, I may be a little bit less inclined to just kind of nuke it from off screen, more or less. It's like, oh yeah, some street rat found that, so you lost 20,000 yen. Sorry, because that's kind of a dick move.
But let's say you have like it. So like you're saying like just have like a crummy little apartment that I pay rent for and just keep it there. That's totally fine.
Yeah, that's way safer, so long as you don't do anything to jeopardize it, really. Like if you say are behind on your rent and you have a crappy landlord who says, "Oh, behind on his rent, time to take all his stuff." It is also something to consider on where you have them. Just for like we're in Bellevue, my go bag is in downtown. I need to get a couple of miles before I can really have access to any of that stuff. But there are probably storage lockers you could get. I would probably say around a squatter lifestyle a month, which is like 500 yen if you wanted to do the storage locker route.
All right.
I'll grab another one of those.
And it's easily something you can pick up in game too. You could also, I guess, stash it with a contact, but that might depend a little bit upon how easy it is to get a hold of that guy. Because we've all called our friends and they've not answered, or how trustworthy they are, and everybody has that scumbag friend that's like, "Yo, I need you to hold on to this for a rainy day." And they find out you got like $20 in there. They're like, "I'm just gonna take this 20. He's not gonna. He doesn't have rainy days." So you guys did a job together. You guys have worked with this. Was this the first time you guys have all worked with this fixer, or is this somebody's long-standing fixer? Not that I'm going to charge that person for it, but I wasn't sure if somebody wanted to have a ongoing relationship with said dude.
Sure. Like we could be coffee buddies. Does that work?
Sure. It just kind of helps me lay a bit of a groundwork for who the guy is.
We grab coffee every other morning, same place, or something like that.
I
Or I don't know if you'd go to the same place every morning for coffee.
I mean, maybe the guy owns a coffee shop.
There we go.
I'd probably want to make it for my character. Probably like he got recommended this guy from his old fixer. It's like, hey, this guy might be better off for what you've been trying to do. Bump you over to him.
So let me ask you this: what makes him your old fixer?
Probably the guy who just wasn't giving me the kind of jobs that was either A, letting me try to find the stuff I want to find, or B, wasn't my, like, what's it called, area of expertise. I don't know, I'd have to think about that, but...
Yeah, no, it's almost as if you were going to populate the world a little bit with some NPCs.
No, yeah.
Feel free to write down about your old fixer on the back of the board here.
Yeah.
We had an almost ganger chaos mage in here. Did you actually join the gang? Or did you just hang out with them?
I want to say my guy didn't officially join, was just available to help them, and was an impromptu member, but still has contacts with them.
Who was the gang member that kept trying to get you to join?
All I did was, I haven't really made too much into that. Kind of just added one from Hero Lab here that said Sprawl Ganger and just added Scatterbrains to it.
Sure. It doesn't necessarily have to be him. It could have been somebody else.
But I have him here as Orc who likes to be paid in cred sticks and likes shoes.
Right. And so it's one of those things of like, not everyone you meet is like a contact level dude. You know what I mean? Because they need some kind of social influence to manifest that connection rating. The guy you have as a contact is maybe a lieutenant or something like that. I was more thinking about like your obnoxious biggest fan who thinks you're super awesome and is in the gang and is trying to get you to join the gang because that'll increase his prestige.
And that'll work. The guy who stumbled upon a random clown and said, "Hey."
He was really into your makeup.
like he knows what you he knew what I was doing.
Or you could have thought you were already in the gang because
Yes.
You're a clown.
What are you doing here?
He just came over, had a small conversation, started talking about how we're going to take back this turf, and you're like, what?
Roll with it.
Is there food involved? All right.
Something to think about. Come up with a ridiculously over-the-top name for him, and he'll just be another NPC out there in the world, doing whatever it is he do. Let me try and think a minute on somebody else that might have something crazy going on. How did you get to Seattle from India?
Ship.
Did you book passage, or did you
Booked a passage to sneak in.
Okay. So you weren't like a stowaway hiding behind the stuff down in the bottom. Is was the captain from India, or was he from Seattle?
I'd probably say India. Like, he probably goes to and fro.
All right. Keep
Like
that.
a merchant ship, right?
Yeah. One of the best ways to make money is on somebody else's goods. Transporting them around the world is a good way of doing it. Was he an independent contractor, or did he work for a corporation? Or was he just a pirate?
Yeah, I think pirate.
All right. You get a little more interesting. I should write some of this stuff down, but I'll make you guys do it. Who else did I have questions about their backstory? I think it was Teller, the Decker.
Yes.
I believe you said you built your cyber deck.
Yes.
Where did you get the parts?
So scrounging around in electronic shops and modifying legal parts into illegal parts. It was something that he used to do with his dad, back even as like a little kid when he was able, and used like a Waldo arm through data link to play around when he got completely bound in the wheelchair, and his arm went down.
Do you still have your chair?
No, not anymore. Like,
What?
I set fire to it.
I was about to ask why he got rid of it, but I guess that kind of answers that question.
Pulled out all the salvageable parts because he doesn't want to destroy anything of real value, but burn the frame.
Every part of the buffalo, as they say.
Yep.
Okay.
That's why he doesn't. So he's got a thing against. He'll throw a data spike if he has to, but he doesn't want to destroy mechanical things like formatting them, shutting them down, getting them out of his way, making them, so they're not a threat. Yeah, but just blowing electronics up for no reason is kind of sacrilegious.
Whoops. It's a little bit of a waste. Who would want to do that? What's the guy that runs the Are you a Seattle native, first of all? Or did you...
He was Boston native until he moved as a teenager in with his aunt, but he didn't actually get to see much of Seattle until he was 18 and had his surgeries.
Okay. Did you build the deck in Seattle or in Boston?
In Seattle.
Okay.
So I got a knowledge thing for all the local electronic shops, and so like scavenged parts and a lot of stuff. It took him some time to build the deck, and he ended up. So he has all the biotech group because growing up sick gave him a keen interest in medicine and trying to hope for a cure and cyber technology. So he got to be really good friends with the guy who actually did the work. That's his one contact, who I think it got like a 5 rating for loyalty. So when they put in all of his cyberware is legal, like the smart link he has is in his contacts. Like none of his cyberware is illegal except for the deck. And that was originally supposed to be just the control processor component for all of his other devices. But the guy left him enough room and has helped him with some of the installation when he built his deck. But that was really his only way to make money and survive. So you do what you got to do.
What's the guy that runs the electronics shop you frequent like?
The electronics shop, not the cybertech who's the contact, but just the people in the electronic shops?
Yeah, just the random dudes that, aren't necessarily contacts, but you may walk in one day and find out that he asks you to do something a little on the shady side.
Oh, there are a bunch of those guys. The one that sticks out the most is from Sal's Used Electronics. Yeah, that guy. That's where I made some of my best scores. He has never approached me to do a job. Like that's why I don't have him as a contact or anything.
Right.
I just bought stuff off of him, but given the interesting mix of things that he came from, I can kind of infer that a lot of the source components were probably high-end corp stuff. I thought I saw nothing of value, but stuff that I distinctly think came off some military hardware. So I suspect he's in some shady shit, but he doesn't know what I do, and I'm not advertising to him, so I haven't broached him as a contact yet. Of course, so maybe he can figure out what I'm up to by what I've been buying.
So I actually got a question real quick. This part shop, like, what kind of stuff does it sell? Is it just like electronics, or is it like an all-around parts shop, like stuff you would get, say, for? Because actually, one of my contacts is a parts store owner, and I mean, I haven't flavored him for anything, but if it sells the same kind of stuff, maybe it could be the same guy.
Could be, yeah, because he could have like I was just thinking kind of not a Radio Shack, but like, the kinds of stuff that would be in Radio Shack only used primarily. And lots of like specialized stuff like guts from mechanical arms off of assembly lines and things that are just specialized electronics but had some value. But no, I mean, that could be easily be expanded out to he has a yard out back that has like lots of mechanical parts.
I'm totally down for that. And he said it was just for like Sal.
Yeah, Sal's used electronics was what it was going to be. Now maybe it's Sal's Merchandise Emporium or Sal's Technology Emporium.
All
What do you
right.
think about that? Now we got everything.
Yeah, I'm totally down with that.
So you guys should come up with some details for Sal and write him down, and we'll kind of flesh him out a little bit. Let me. You were the rigger with the Ares sin, right?
Yeah.
Does he know that you're a Ares Corp center? Does he use you to get some of this military-ish stuff that he has?
It could have been brought up. Yeah. Maybe one day, I saw a thing. Maybe I was looking to make a trade or something like that. It's like I can get something because this actually plays into another one of my contacts. So I took him the archetype corporate scientist, and I'm basically gonna be saying they're estranged brothers. They don't talk that often, but I mean, they're occasionally willing to help each other out.
Are they blood brothers, step brothers?
Blood brothers, twins, I would say, just to make it even more fucked up. Because say a running team saw basically what amounts to this runner working for Ares at the time. Could make for some fun things.
I had somebody whose last name was Johnson as a runner one time. A criminal sin because he kept getting. They're like, there's this guy, he got a goatee and glasses, about 6'2", looks generic. Last name Johnson. Everybody says, Mr. Johnson made us do it. Oh, goddamn! Bring in the usual suspects.
I will say this for one thing though. The scientist one that actually still works for Ares does wear glasses. That was the one difference they had growing up.
Well,
that's huge. I mean, that's Clark Kent.
I have cyber eyes.
Okay. Does he have any augmentations?
Not that I would know of. If he does,
I'll just file that around in the back of my head for reasons. Maybe there is a reason he wears glasses instead of embracing glorious chrome and getting rid of his fleshy bits.
Yeah, of course.
Hmm.
No, I could totally see that. Basically trying to give his deadbeat brother some money. Like throw out some old shit the company won't miss.
Yeah. Or it's like, they're going to be dumping some stuff in this landfill/junkyard. There's some choice things in there. Pick it up.
Yeah.
An important question I have for the two more combat-oriented characters is, well, I guess we'll start with our adept since he doesn't. Since I haven't bugged him about anything yet.
Yay. What's up?
Who was the first person you killed?
First person I killed?
Yeah.
Well, you see, I'll have to go back a while because it's as an assassin. Ooh, let's make this dark. Say my stepdad.
Were you paid for it?
My sister gave me $5.
That is deliciously fucked up.
How old were you and your sister at the time?
I would have been 12. She would have been 8.
So it was more along the lines of you didn't really understand how much money.
No, I was fully aware, but she wasn't, and I hated the guy. Okay. So that's how it went down.
What did he do that made you need to kill him?
Was he abusive and a drunk? Did you just not like the guy?
Did he molest your little sister?
No, she was my stepsister, but he took my mom away from my dad, and that's just rude.
So he broke up your family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
More tragic backstories.
Was it plotted and planned? I mean, did he do something that set you off, or did you just plot and plan until knew you could get away with it and then did it?
Oh no, he just set me off. And the sister told me $5. I'm like, yeah, I'm mad at him right now. I'll do this.
Our dwarven military man. Who was your first person you killed?
Uh, probably like a, probably I don't even know who I killed because it was like those night raids where you get fired upon, you probably just crouch down below
Like
and
the
you're
beginning
firing
of The
back.
Force Awakens?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
Probably that kind of thing.
And you're
Yeah,
just
no.
firing, and like you end up killing, like you've killed people, but you can't point out as to who you've killed.
Do you mentioned you don't like the military thing? Is it because of the killing, or is it because of just the racism? Is it, are you trying to be
Yeah,
a better
so
person? Go ahead.
I think as a person I'm fine as who I am, but the reason I left was because I realized that I'm killing for someone who doesn't really care for me, right? Because I'm killing for my country, but the country doesn't really care about uh, all the non-humans, right? They're pretty pro-human as a culture, and everything is set up that way. And plus, I realized I'm never going to get like further into the military, like progress rank wise or whatever. Never going to get decorated for all the like
For
my
everything you
bravery or
actually
whatever.
did.
Yep.
Was did somebody else get credit for some of the things that you did?
Yeah, I think that would have probably, or probably just been neglected for the like, if you did something good, just got neglected over it because like, you, you're a
Yeah.
non-human, you're a freak, so don't even like.
Don't even pay any attention to you.
Yep, that sort of way.
Just kind of hoping you get shot and bleed out somewhere.
Yeah, sort of like cannon fodder. Set off as cannon fodder and then surprised that actually survived.
Well, it's good that you survived. Um, because now we get to see where things are gonna go. Let me think if I have any other interesting questions. But we've been uh we've been going for a little over an hour now. So let's take a quick break, grab some drinks, and then we'll see if you guys have questions about some of the other stuff that we have just talked about with each other. Um, as far as character stuff. And we'll be right back.